right, let's lunch and learn for today. I want to put my do not disturb on. I highly suggest you do the same. And we're going to have about 1 hour of highly focused time for our lunch and learn today. The 10 best seller postcards to get listings this year. So hopefully you are off to a good start this morning, afternoon, whichever one you're going to watch this at. And today I have really compiled some of the best ones to get through, and also through a lot of that framework, because again, giving you a postcard is great, but some of that also requires the framework behind it. So I dissected it. We're going to go slide by slide. There's quite a few of them, and we have prepared notes for you. So if you want the class notes as usual, you can get them by just texting the word seller 10. There's no gap in between seller and 10. So it's one word, seller, and then the number 10. And you can text that one to 844-950-3580. As always, I'm going to give that to you a couple more times throughout. So those of you hopping on late sometimes, you don't have to feel like you're missing out. So we found that works pretty well. And those are our cliff notes. You see all 10 of them are on there. And yes, we're going to dive into a little bit more, but this will give you the 10 we're going to cover today. And also, while we have you on your phone one last time before class, if you want to go ahead and text the word review to 844-950-3580, we're going to return a link to you for our Google My Business. That is how we keep these classes free. We like the free lunch and learns. They're great for learning, but we also always look for feedback. Are they still valid for agents? Is it helpful? Are you getting something out of it? Because I've been on your side of the table. I signed up for a class or something, and it turned into this massive sales pitch, and I'm like, I've learned nothing. So that is not what we're going to do. Okay, we want you to walk away with actionable things. That's the difference between, in my opinion, a coach and a trainer. I always want to make sure you have step 1, do this, step 2, do that, and walk away with a step-by-step of what to do next, because feeling like you can do it is great, right? Actually putting the tasks on paper and doing them, completely different. And because we do think your time is very valuable for simply writing a review, an honest review of class, we do send out these boxes here. We call them our business builder boxes, which is really a repeat and referral system in a box. So you get business building tools inside of it, many times a book. And again, it's our way of saying thanks for taking the time, helping more agents realize what's actually good out there and what is a complete waste of their time. Okay, so you're helping us make sure that all that stuff that is not valuable gets pushed away. So today's goal is pretty simple. We're going to walk away with a clear, proven plan to choose a farm that actually makes money. And we're also going to stop second guessing what to send, because I'm going to literally give you that. There's our disclaimer. Presentation is for educational and informational purposes. I am a licensed instructor, but I'm a licensed instructor in Illinois. You are all over, actually, the country. We do have oftentimes New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa pop into my lunch and learns, which is kind of fun to know that we're international. But again, I'm licensed in one state, and we are in all 50 states. So you have a head on your shoulders. Please use it. You are your own business owner. My name is Janine. I'm your host for today. If we have not met and you're brand new, awesome. Glad to have you. If you want to tell me you're new, feel free to let me know. Personally, I am a full-time agent. I am a licensed instructor. I am a mom. I'm a business owner. I'm the creator of what we call GeoCentral, which is my back-end operating system for geographic farming. And I also host these free lunch and learns under my training company, which is the Hyperlocal Agent. So what we're going to cover today is the postcard strategy that cuts through the noise. How many of you feel like there's way too much noise going on, right? We need something where people are going to focus. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how do you mail smarter. not harder, not saturation, not hammering them over the head with paper. And we're going to talk about 10 real mailers that turned into listings. Yes, I am going to dangle that carrot a little bit for you because you need to understand some principles before I'm just like, here are the mailings. Okay. So we want to make sure you understand first what it is before we get into it. Probably one of my favorite videos. Not gonna lie, it's like this most catchy ringtone for your cell phone, if you guys remember that one. And I sent a lot of mail, like a lot of mail. And we're going to talk about what worked, what didn't, because I'm going to tell you there's definitely things that didn't. Before we dive into it, if you are a workbook person, I really got to find my workbook. I have one printed. I have no idea where I put it. But if you are a workbook person, you can get a workbook. We do have additional resources on it. There's a no opt-in, so you don't have to fill out a form or anything. It's straight up coming from our Google Drive. You can just download it and keep all your class notes. Again, I'm a big fan of organization and having things. As much as I love my sticky notes, okay, it's not the greatest way to organize things in class. So we're going to talk about the postcard strategy that cuts through noise, first and foremost. And when you look at why direct mail is truly outperforming digital ads, not just in 2025, but beyond, how do you stand out with messages your sellers are actually reading and responding to? I've had a call this morning, and the call was actually very interesting because we talked about how we are being sold to in a different way than what worked 20, 30 years ago, right? All of us are fully aware that our buying behavior has changed. Everybody's in agreement to that, right? So when we are making decisions on different levels, we really have to understand first and foremost what we do and then change it, right? So I want to be clear that we're going to walk away with actionable items. So if you have a postcard, you're going to be able to look at the postcard you have created maybe, and you're going to be like, oh, based on that, I need to make changes here, 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 and here. Okay. That's why I want to give you guys all these frameworks first and foremost. So you have actual information to apply. It goes back to the principle, teach or give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, right? Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Agents that are fed for a lifetime because they understand are generally much, much better to work with for us on our end too, because we don't have to like spoon feed them, okay? So again, it sounds so weird, but at the end of the day, understanding something on the base of it is just so, so important. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of my reality. I get called a lot at home by my children for anything under the sun, okay? Like the word mom is like, I love the word mom. It's like my favorite word of all, right? But it's always something. You're like, Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, this, Mom, that. And I'm like, Mom is just trying to get some thoughts put together. It's so hard to focus already. Now you add children to the mix and you're like, oh man, level like extra focus is hard. So the system I needed to build was something that I built not on saturation. When you talk to a lot of people, they will tell you, you have to mail to everybody every single month. You have to do this, right? And you have to do it for at least 12 months. And at the end of the day, I'm always thinking, it's not your money that you're spending, right? I mean, when I get that advice, and I got that advice, I always got that advice from somebody that wasn't actually putting their money on the line. It was always my money. And I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm actually doing something the right way, because everything has gotten more expensive, and the more strategic you are in the beginning, right, the better your chances of success. So a couple statistics for you. On average, a customer will receive about 90 email solicitations a day. And that's from 2020. I can tell you that number actually went up, and we're looking at about 120 right now. And we're going to get on average still about 2.5 mail pieces. That number hasn't changed, which is really interesting. That was, again, 2020 study from Lob in their Mastering Direct Mail Attribution. So when you look at cutting through the noise, where do you think it's easier to get somebody's attention? Right? Obviously, where there's less noise in the channel. Now, on average, I had a post somewhere that I was using for another graphic. The amount of social media content that a consumer sees a day is staggering. Like, you guys see it yourself, right? How many posts have you already scrolled past? And it's probably not even lunchtime where you're at. Like, how do you keep this all straight, right? That is the noise that we're talking about. That is the noise that you have to figure out. How am I going to break through the noise? Because the noise isn't changing. So, the average American is exposed to about 4,000 to 10,000 ads per day. Again, this one here is probably a higher number today. And just to put it in perspective, that is nearly double the number of ads the average person saw in 2007. Okay, double from 2007. It wasn't that long ago. And over 5 times as many ads as the average person saw in the 1970s. It's a lot. Everybody heard that ChatGPT is monetizing on ad space now too. Yes? So if you really start thinking about the ads we're being fed to in every possible channel, especially online, you really have to think through, where do I break out of the pack, right? So why would you use direct mail in a mostly digital world? Isn't that old school? Now, I don't think that you guys are necessarily thinking that, because why would you show up on a 10 bestseller postcards if you think that was the reality? But I just had a conversation with somebody, and it might be a good one. If I find it, I will pull it up. But the conversation was something along the lines of, I'm looking for more modern techniques. And I'm like, more modern techniques? I'm like, you know nothing about postcards, clearly. Because when I look at a postcard, right, people see paper. Let me actually have one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll use this one. When people see postcards, they see paper, okay? When I look at postcards, what I see is the probably smartest landing page I could ever possibly send to somebody. The enhancements done on postcards have been far beyond any online platform. So, again, we're going to talk a little bit about that today, breaking through the noise. But the biggest one that I generally hear is, isn't that old school? I'm like, old school is new school, because this is smarter than your Facebook ad, and I'm going to prove it to you. So, smart mail is not talked about a whole lot. And again, I probably am a super nerd when it comes to postcards, but there are so many different ways to make postcards smarter than just paper.
So, but I've been mailing now for 14 years. So, it took a long time to get there. So don't overthink it. I started with just 500 homes. And here I'll show you where we've gotten, so where we are right now, so that you can have a better understanding of what that looks like, what you should be shooting for, because I strongly believe in mailers, because I get to interview some of the most amazing agents. And I can tell you, those agents that have a business that is now a career, they have two things that they do often. Number one is they build relationships through constant communication. And the other one, believe it or not, is some type of mailing.
So, for those of you that are not familiar who that is, this is Tristan Amara. He is the owner of Lab Code Agents. And I always find it interesting when I hear people talk about direct mail. So that was one of the clips they had released. And I hope you do hear what he said at the end. A business that is now a career. Now, I'm not going to argue that there are a lot of hobby agents out there by choice. Oh, I just want to close an extra 3-4 deals a year. Okay, that is it. And I'm happy with it. It's extra money for my family to go on vacation. I'm not here to debate, if that's good, bad, or whatever not. Doesn't matter. For me, I look at it as this business. This is my career. This is what I do to pay my bills, build a brand, build a business, help the people that are around me. And that is my career. This is my career path. Okay. So a business that is now a career. And again, he interviews enough agents to really understand what are they doing. They're not going to talk about that shiny thing. right? They're not going to be like, oh yeah, this is what I do. They have a foundation. And that foundation is oftentimes so fundamentally forgotten that I've made it kind of my mission, I guess, in here to talk about it a whole lot more. Because constant communication is a big part of how you stay in touch. Now, I don't like constant communication in terms of one-on-ones. I'm an introvert. I burn out when I just have too much one-on-one effort. When I network, it's not my forte. So postcards became my grace and savior. They became the thing that I could use to communicate with my past clients, with my leads, to snowball my listings without burning out. So again, it's scalable, it's replicable, and at the end of the day, it's sellable. And that, to me, made it the perfect medium of choice. Now, obviously, mediums are great, but we want listings. So I took it to the test. I expanded into a brand new farm. I sent out a postcard, and it listed a property in 27 days flat. So for those of you saying, yeah, you've been established in the farm, sure. I did branch out into a brand new farm, and I'm going to see the postcard I used. The timeline, the mailer was received January 6th. I got a phone call about 4 days later. I had a listing appointment on January 12th. I did send them one follow-up text on January 18th. And that was before I automated that one. And on January 27th, okay, 9 days of silence. Yeah, imagine that. Talk about no instant gratification for me. 9 days later, I got a text. And that text said, "You're hired." So the fastest way to really succeed in anything, in especially the real estate industry, is to model, mimic, and master. I wish I could tell you I have created something, oh my gosh, oh so innovative, oh so amazing, that nobody else thought about it before. If I tell you that, I'd be lying. Geographic farming has been around for a long time. The only thing I did is I put a 21st century spin on it. So model, mimic, and master what works today. How are we going to actually make sure it's going to continue working? And that's through innovation. Innovation is one of the only things that we do with any lead gen tactic that's out there. Look at cold calls. Okay. If somebody is a cold caller, they used to dial with their hand, do all of that, right? Then somebody would answer and they would go about it this way. Modern innovation has now something called a triple line dialer that will dial the number for you to make it faster. Again, the principles remain the same. Okay. Innovation is what makes it work for today, in today's market, with today's buyer or seller avatar. Because remember, we said in the beginning, people are sold to differently. So I'm going to give you some more numbers just for the heck of it, because I think it's important. My first closing about 9 days into the year referred to me from an event mailer. My first listing 20 days into the new year called me from a mailer. My first referral listing appointment happened 31 days into the year from a lead nurture mailer. Lead nurture mailer, we call those our SOI mailers. Again, our SOI mailers, lead nurture, same thing. Okay. So when you look at all of that, it is not a whole lot of effort that I actually had to expand. It's just momentum that keeps building. My business today, the way it looks, I've grown my market share. Agents and buyers are reaching out to me for the market heads up, which is kind of crazy that I get agents being like, hey, do you have anything coming on the market? People recognize me in the farm, right? You've heard that saying, aren't you that agent? I'm still working on the fact that they can say, aren't you Janine Sassel? Okay, there's a distinction. So we're getting there, but if you really look at what's the next level, we're all chasing a next level. First up, it's being recognized, right? And then it's having that brand top of mind name next. Some of my most amazing failures. I want to show those too, because at the end of the day, life is not a highlight reel. I have tried a lot of things and they didn't work. Be like everybody else. I thought I was here to help you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. Well, that doesn't separate me from anybody, especially not the 3 million real estate agents. Dress like everyone else. I literally went out and bought dress pants and high heels, which is not me, to blend in at what I thought a real estate agent was going to look like. Now, I do think there's a certain, look a real estate agent should probably have. Have I shown properties in my sweatpants? Yes, I have. I've had a buyer call and they're like, we need to see this house. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of gardening. I'm like, I'm going to come down there, but I'm going to have dirt underneath my fingernails and I'm going to be in my gardening clothes. And they're like, we don't care, but we had to get into that house. So you're going to try to blend in with the average agent. I thought I wanted to blend in. I thought I wanted to be like other people. Turns out blending is the worst thing you can do in this business. Trying to do all the things. How many of you had probably like 5 to 10 different lead gen ideas on your plate at one time? And then you dabble a little bit here, dabble a little bit there, and nothing gets done, right? Trying to reinvent the wheel, again, thinking you are smarter than anybody that's here. Outsmart proven concepts kind of goes hand in hand with that. There's a lot of strategies that work. The tactic might get modified. The strategy stays in place. So long story short, I wasted money I didn't have with a lot of trial and error just to find out that this wasn't making a difference at the end of the day. So I'm going to save you a little bit from that and we're going to go through. If you just hopped on, I did give everybody the cliff notes for this class. You can get that with the word seller 10 to our GeoCentral number, which is 844-950-3580, and it'll return the Google Drive link for you to just download and have. So again, strategy. We are talking strategy. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what a tactic might become later. Okay, but first, strategy. So we're going to start with the thought of, I want to send a postcard, right? I want to send a mailer. Then you have to think about, well, what am I going to put on it? And then you want to think of, okay, well, now that I know what I'm going to send and what I'm going to put on there, how am I going to get the people that it's for? And then you're going to be like, okay, how am I actually going to get it out? So that is generally the thought process that people go through. I just had somebody reach out last night and she's like, well, I'm currently working on a postcard for my SOI and I do have the mailing list. I just have no clue how to print and ship it. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's go through this. I want to send a mailer. That's generally where it starts. A mailer is not a mailer. Let's see, I do have it here. I have written at this point 3 different books on direct mail. Let me see if I make it a little bigger. Okay, these here are 2 of them. One says success with SOI postcards. The other one says success with real estate mailers. This one here, SOI postcards, is what? This is warm leads, people that know, like, and trust you. That's your warm lead bucket. Those are people that already know your name when it comes up. Success with real estate mailers is our cold lead bucket. In our case here, that's our farming leads. They don't know you, they have no relationship, and for all they care is that you're a used car salesperson. So you have to now convince them that you are different. 2 types of mailers, very different content. That's why there's 2 books, not 1. Mailers aren't mailers. And that principle really applies to anything we do. Doesn't matter if you're out there doing Facebook ads. Okay, you have people that know, like, and trust you in your audience. And then there's people that, I don't know, maybe they sent you a friend request because you both commented on a neighborhood Facebook post. Who knows? Okay. So again, 2 types of mailers. That is really the principle behind that here. Lead nurture, warm market, lead generation, cold target market. Everybody okay with that explanation? We're good? Okay. So first and foremost, you have to figure out who you're going to talk to. Because I will not talk to cold leads the way I would talk to warm leads. People that know, like, and trust me have a different conversation with me than people that don't know me. Makes sense so far, yes? So getting to know people at scale is what I do with mail. And according to a survey, 82% of consumers choose print ads as the most trustworthy when making purchase decisions. How many of you have been online? You've looked at something or saw a comment and you thought, that's not real. How many of you lately have looked at a video and thought, that's not real? How many of you are looking at a piece of mail, a postcard, and you're thinking, that's not real. The answer is barely nobody does that. Why is that? Why is that we are not looking at mail like this? First up, people understand that postage is not free. Whereas my Facebook comment, all I put in there was maybe 3 seconds of my efforts, right? So when people are putting money into something, much, much more money than the 3 cents it takes for an impression, right? The trust goes immediately up. Part two, how long has Facebook been around versus how long has the United States Postal Service operated? So when something has been around, you grow up with it, okay? In many cases, remember, so many people here did not grow up with the internet, computers. You're like, that's new. I mean, I don't think it's new. I was like 13 when my father put an Atari into our house. And I'm like, this thing is cool. I grew up with, a PlayStation that I had to share with my brother. But there's a lot of generations in between that didn't grow up with that. So when you have something that is so trusted like mail because it's always been there, right? That's interesting. Now for our millennials, when you grow up on the internet, do you know what feels interesting and fun? Mail, because you're just not used to direct mail being a form of advertising. So here's a couple questions we're going to go through. I have the answers. We're not going to do that interactive right now. But the questions, how many of your followers see your Facebook business page? How many of your followers see your personal Facebook page? How many people open your email? And what is the delivery success rate of mail? I filled in some of these here, and that is all the way back here in 2013. Probably a whole lot worse right now. But if we go through it, how many of your followers see your Facebook business page post? And it said the visibility was between 1 to 2%, with an engagement rate of 0.11. I can tell you it got worse. Why is that? Well, if it's a Facebook business page, you as a business, right, should have a marketing budget. And if you have a marketing budget, Facebook will argue that if you have a business page with us, you should also spend some business dollars with us. So in order for you to be seen, why didn't you give us some money? All right, so now you understand, obviously, how Facebook makes their money. They are not here for your entertainment. They're here for the money. We all know that. How many of your followers see your personal Facebook profile posts? Back in 2013, that was about 35%. Is that still true today? I mean, you guys be the judge on your next post and let me know. If you get 2 likes and 5 comments on it, you're probably lucky. So if you look at email open rate, okay, the open rate back in 2013, we probably could have it at about a 33%. Click rate, just under 1%. Bounce rate, about 12, which wasn't great. So if I look at these stats, right now, the average open rate on real estate related emails is about 20%. If your list is small and targeted, you can certainly go up a whole lot more. I have targeted lists in my email account for real estate that are upwards of 60%, but they're hyper targeted. They talk about something very, very specific, and that is the only way it could be accomplished. So on average, you just Google the statistic, we're looking at currently 20% email open rate. So what is the delivery success rate now with mail? And I do not have 100 on here on purpose because things always happen. So I have in here a very conservative 99%. Okay. So effort, obviously, pretty good. So the other part, now that we talked about, I want to send a mailer. Okay, great. First up, who are you going to send it to? Be clear because your messaging will change. Now we talked about also why mail, because again, if you are not fully behind that this is the medium to use and you want to just dabble in it, dabbling generally leads to nothing. I'll just be flat out honest with you. Dabbling mostly leads to nothing. How many of you have dabbled with maybe bringing your Instagram up to a couple thousand followers? Okay, dabbling leads to nothing. You really have to understand that you have to focus in on something. I'm also a big believer in making sure that I control the cost and objectives on all these levels. Okay, cost and objective. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So for now, we're going to flip it on its head And we're going to reverse engineer all of this in today's class. From I want to send a mailer to, oh, I wonder about the design, to mailing list, shipping and printing. I'm going to start with shipping and printing. Again, reverse engineering. For me, that is GeoCentral. Why do I use GeoCentral? Because I couldn't find something that was giving me exactly what I wanted. So we created it with unlimited free printed postcards and a smart QR code. There are a bunch of other things out there. I have an agent that will literally print for free on her office printer. Now, if you are that lucky, I absolutely think you should evaluate that as a resource for you. You could also partner with a local printer, right? Find a printer in your area because they will know everything that there is to know about print. Pick up the phone, say, I'm currently looking for somebody that can do my postcards, right? Is that you? And I want to understand some of the stuff behind it. Can you help? That is a big part of how I got started before figuring out something else. So again, part of that, something else, was the fact that I wanted to control my objective and I wanted to cut my cost, which was a direct to printer model that we established. But again, the goal here is not for you to now start to optimize. The goal for this right now is just to get the print and shipping part done. How many of you can say, I know how to print and ship a postcard? Okay, because if you're going all the way down and then you get stuck at the last one, print and shipping, and you have no clue how to go about that, you feel like you just wasted 3 weeks of your time. Okay, it just feels like you wasted 3 weeks of your time. So print and shipping, please make sure you have something in place. Have a plan. Evaluate that first, because that is the final step that you will need, but it's the first step we're going to start with. All right, so next up, how do you mail smarter, not harder? Stop wasting money on blanket mail. I'm going to show you how to target the right homeowners with pinpoint accuracy using lists that convert. So there's 2 types of lists, and I'm going to try to explain that in the most simplistic way for now possible, but mailing lists are not the same mailing lists. So we have what we call targeted lists. And targeted lists, I want you to think about the fact that you have a name, you have an address, right? And you will send this to Jane Doe at 123 Main Street. And Jane might be living all the way at the end of town, and you're going to send another mailer to John, and he lives 2 towns over. Think about your Christmas cards. Your Christmas cards that you send out are targeted mailings. They go wherever you tell it to do, one by one by one by one. Everybody good with that. Then there is the blanketed mailings. And those are the ones that oftentimes A, trip agents up, and B, they also are, I've been saying a whole lot during my last boot camp, Pinocchio's Funland. How many of you guys remember the Funland, the Temptation Island? Okay. There is a mailing service out there that is kind of the temptation for agents, which is EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail. And I call it Temptation Island because in most instances, agents should not be using that way of mailing until they have established their presence. So, blanketed. They are focused on a geographic area. You will have no say of who's going to get the mailer because it's going to go to everybody in that area, okay? Like throwing a blanket over it. Think about your neighborhood, throw a blanket over it, everybody's going to get it. That's what we call blanketed mailings. And typically, these are generic names. So instead of saying Jane Doe, it would say local postal customer. Because you do not know what postcard goes to what house. They all just get one, you know that, and that's where the story ends. So 2 types of lists. We do cover a whole lot more of them before, by the way, in other classes. So if you are like, okay, I need to know more about that, I need to know more about targeting, I have a class, and I can't tell you right now when the next one is coming up, but we do cover that in class. There's actually several classes on mailing lists. So if you have not already gotten our class schedule, we do update that 3 or 4 times a year, and we send it out to everybody that registered on a past Lunch and Learn. You can just get yourself a schedule for now. And then this way you will get a new one in the mail once we release it. Again, About 3 or 4 of them gets mailed out a year. Comes to your house, and then you can decide what classes you want to hop in on. So that's the hyperlocalagent.com/schedule. All right. Everybody got that? All right. So examples for targeted mailings. HomeSnap was one of the most amazing resources. How many of you remember HomeSnap? Yes, we're still mourning the death of HomeSnap. There's other ones for likely to move and ownership time. For those of you that have Remine, a tax portal, RPR, okay, any of these, those would work. Now, you could also go to a resource called Call Resource. You could purchase lists for expired, cancels, FISBOs. There's plenty of these around. Or you could just ask your local title company, okay? Have a conversation. Hey, is it possible for you to get me a mailing list? This is not hard, but it does require you to understand your options. Understand your options, okay? So that is part 1. Again, I am still very, very sad for this one. I hope they're going to come back with something in the near future, but this one is what this could look like. Again, other mediums are out there that have something similar. I just didn't update the screenshot. I am still clearly in, mourning stage for HomeSnap. But I want you to, again, ignore what this app was. I want you to understand the principle behind it. And that's the big part of why I left it. When you look at the principle behind it, they used something called heat maps. And what heat maps really were just indicators of a higher likelihood to sell. Today, we're talking about AI algorithms that have a predictive AI component, right? Predictive AI. They think they know. Think about the Google bar. Everybody knows the Google bar. You start typing in how to, and all of a sudden, Google is going to fill it in. Predictive AI, based on a lot of searches that were happening, most commonly used phrases. Predictive AI is not new, but that is what these kind of lists were using. Okay, so why are we having such a hard time finding these things? It shouldn't. The accuracy of them, however, isn't super great. All right, so then we've got here an example. And again, this wasn't my listing, but I always liked looking at it. And I've tended to be on my phone a lot. So when I looked at it, right, I'm like, I saw a listing pop up in our private listing network. So it wasn't listed yet. And the first thing I would do, within minutes of this listing hitting the private network, I would go to HomeSnap and I would type the address in HomeSnap and I would see what was that label indicator of, was that a property that was actually most likely to list? And so many times, over 50% of the time, this thing was right. This thing was dead on that it says most likely to list, and here they are listed. So again, predictive AI, that is a big part of some of these targeted lists that you could evaluate. And there's other targeted lists. Okay, targeted lists can be a lot of different things. Likely to move seller leads. Again, a big part for what we use. I told you I use GeoCentral. Empty nesters, absentee owners, financially distressed. What else we got here? Actually, my favorite one is just the likely to move. So that's kind of where my story ends. But if you look at targeted mailings, there are different, and by the way, you could also look for only ranches, only 2 stories, only homes with a pool. Those are all targeted list examples. Okay. Next one is the blanketed list. The blanketed list, I already said, that is where we just cover everything with a blanket, right? The mentality is more is better. More is really not better. More creates a lot of waste. So waste itself, right, is if you have the wrong people, you don't have a match with what you're looking for, you're just sending mail because of it. So the service that is used for that is called Every Door Direct Mail, EDDM. And EDDM is something that you will eventually need in your postcard journey. In most cases, however, you should not use it until your farm has exceeded 1,000 houses. And you should not use it until you have established a solid pipeline of actual real seller leads. Because when you send a postcard, EDDM, you are sacrificing a lot of intelligence. So when I told you earlier, this postcard here for me is one of the smartest landing pages there is. I want you to think about the EDDM version as simply going back to paper. Okay, smartest landing page there is, targeted. EDDM, a simple piece of paper. Because that is truly the difference between these two. There is always a trade-off. You have to understand the trade-off that you're going for. Because at a certain point, you will need to weigh the options. Targeted or blanketed, is the trade-off worth the investment? I'll give you an example. My own farm is over 5,000 houses. If I was to not use EDDM, I probably would be spending 5 times as much on direct mail. Maybe not 5 times, probably about 3 times as much. Okay, so let's assume I'm going to spend 3 times as much on my direct mail because I'm going to go with targeted over blanketed. My ROI is going to go down significantly. So again, at a certain point, there comes a path where you have then to adjust your strategy. Not until you're over 1,000 houses and you have a solid pipeline of actual viable sellers to follow up with. So that is blanketed lists, and you can discover that again with a great tool for mailing list routes. I think it's amazing. But again, not until, what's that number? 1,000. Okay, 1,000 households, and not or, and you have established a valid seller pipeline. Because at the end of the day, EDDM is great for acquisition, branding, and informational campaign. It is not necessarily the best tool to use to get leads. So branding, because when we do farm, part of what we do is branding, but that's not all of it. All right, so we talked a little bit about mailing lists. Everybody has print and shipping figured out. Everybody has now a mailing list figured out, right? Who are we mailing to first and foremost? We have to figure that out first before we get to the design. Why? Do you talk to these two people the same? If I'm your best friend sitting there with a glass of wine, are you going to talk to me like you would talk to a seller that just called you to list their house? Probably not, right? Different relationship, different way of talking. So again, that is where now that you know who you're going to mail to, the design comes in handy. I'll give you another example. We talked about targeted lists, and I want to target the people with a pool. Do you think that I probably should have something with a pool on my picture? Right? I mean, if I want to target sellers with a pool in their backyard, do you think it might make sense if I have something with a pool as a picture to capture their attention? Here are the top 3 pools that buyers are looking for in 2025, 2026, 2027. That would, in my opinion, make sense because now it is relevant to them. So design, let's talk about it. And before you ask, how do you do this? What do you do? I design all my mailers in Canva. I feel like it's the easiest tool to use as of now. I do think that we will likely get to the point of AI being way better. I have done trainings on how to use AI to create postcard images before. So we're getting there. I think real estate agents were kind of forced to become, graphic designers to a certain degree, which is a rabbit hole in itself. You better recognize that 4 hours in Canva does not equal 4 hours of productive work time for you. But again, that is where I think having a system that you can just optimize and tweak. I send this mailer about once a year, probably. Okay. I don't redesign. I don't reinvent the wheel. I do what works over and over. So how many people have heard the saying, stop the scroll? Right? Stop the scroll. Because first we have to get them to pay attention. Stop the scroll. Then the next part though is they need to take an action. So what does action look like? What does action look like? This is a prospect in action. How are we going to get there? How do you get them to take action? If you cannot answer how to get them to take action, at least try. Okay, that is where we have to focus in on. Because once they take action, what generally happens is that they come out happy the other side. I yet have to meet a seller that was not happy after the move was over. So what happened there? What sparked that action? What made that action say, I got to do something? Now or nothing. Let's go. What made you guys actually come here and say, you know what? I got to join. Like there's an action that you took here. Question is why. I'm going to take a gander. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. You either would like to make more money because, I don't know, I think we can all use more money. Maybe you are currently doing something and you're like, okay, how the heck is she getting that for such an affordable price? Because I'm spending $1.10 per postcard. Maybe you want to save money. Maybe you have been trying to go door to door with little pop-buys, right? That you've seen on the internet, and somebody said, go buy all the wrapping paper that Target has on clearance and stock it away from next year. And then next year you're like, okay, I'm going to do the pop-buys. And you realize it's going to take you forever to get them all delivered. Plus you have to put them all together and make the little tag look cute and adhere the tag and all the other stuff, right? And you're like, I don't have time for that. I got a life. Maybe you're just over this. So you're here to do a postcard to save time. Or maybe you're here to avoid effort. I have been, again, back to the Popeyes, doing manual labor. I don't want to do that anymore. Escaping mental or physical pain. Physical pain, obviously, hopefully less likely here, but escaping mental pain. There's enough people I have talked to that said, you know what, I need to prepare myself for divorce. I need to work. So when I'm ready to take that step, I can stand on my own. And I don't say that because it's just, things are hard sometimes for people. But that is what sparks action. Okay? That is what sparks action. Get more comfort. Well, living paycheck to paycheck, I don't know about you, but that's not comfort. So in order for you to change it, you have to do something. You have to take action. Another reason, achieve greater cleanliness or hygiene to sustain better health. Okay, some of you are thinking, Janine, this is crazy. Great. I bet you that if you make more money and you wanted hair extension, or you wanted to get, veneers on your teeth or whatever that you consider right now a luxury, or Botox because you're starting to wrinkle, that you might just say, you know what, yes, I would like that. Or maybe I want to hire a personal trainer and I don't know how to afford one right now. Okay, that is all falling into the bucket of why you actually take action. The why behind. You've heard the question before. Dig 7 layers deep on the why. Why are you here? Well, I want to send postcards. Well, why do you want to send postcards? Because I want to get more listings. Well, why do you want to get more listings? Because I'm tired of working with all the buyers. It takes too much time. So why are you, sad about the time? Because I really would like to be home when my kids get home. All of these reasons here go to a deeper why. Go dig deep. Figure it out. Gaining praise. Number 1 office agent goes to, and then your name is right there. We are all in a praise business. Why do you think brokerages are handing out prizes like it's a participation trophy thing? They know it makes people feel good. Feel more loved, okay? When people are looking up to you, you feel just better about yourself. Increase their popularity and social status. Oh, look, I sold my houses. Now I'm living in a Mac mansion. Again, there are reasons people take action. I just made it relevant to you. Your job is to make it relevant to your seller. Okay, make it relevant to your buyer if that's who you're after. But at the end of the day, the actions are tied to the reason. And these 10 is generally what any of the reasons will fit into. So look at your copy. Look at how you're writing. Are you writing like you're like, yes, that's what I want? Like people don't want to read between the lines anymore. Life's complicated enough. So your mail needs to clearly state, what can you help them with? Number 1 marketing formula, and that one has not changed. WIIFM. Anybody got a guess? WIIFM. What's in it for me? I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, it's never about us. We think it is, we think they want to hire us because they like us, even your friends and family. At the end of the day, it's what's in it for me. And it's not in a terrible way, it's just in a society has gotten to the point way. We can still do good things for each other, but at the end of the day, when people are stretched, right, it always comes back down to what's in it for me. And that's the question you're going to have to answer. So I had blended in here. I'm going to give you a little secret segment. I'm going to give you the call to action levels that I generally go through with some people, because the call to action is one of the ones that probably loses you the most leads. So let's start with the hard one. Call for an appointment. Unless I want to go to the doctor and I know I have to call because, it's kind of important for me to do that, I don't want to do it. Okay? Call me for a free CMA. No, thank you. Call me for a free market analysis. Let's meet and discuss your needs. I don't have time for that. Call today for a free consultation. No, thank you. So you really have to see, how do people interact with you? Does it mean I will not put my phone number on the postcard? Absolutely not. It just will not be my call to action. So every single postcard, that I send does have right there, everybody can see it in my little window, have my brokerage, it has my office address, it has my phone number, it has my email, it has my endlessly long disclaimer that is 8 lines long. But at the end of the day, it's on there. If that is their preferred method, they can do that. But that is not where 90% of my leads would come from. So calling, possible, but it's very, very difficult. So next up, what else could I do on my postcard? The next easier one is generally event signups or registrations. Register to be part of our annual neighborhood event. Register for a free picture appointment. On-demand buyer and seller library. So if you have registrations or event signups, it is a little easier these days when people do that. Think about the Lunch and Learn. Did I ask you to give me a call? No. How many of you want to call me? Probably not many of you. But how many of you are okay to just sit here for a second and get a little bit of knowledge, because maybe you have lunch and you are just, hey, I want to not sit in silence, so I'm going to listen to this crazy chick. Okay? But that is an easier way. And whatever you're seeing here, I'm applying the same principles to my training company that I use in real estate. So you can literally see it working in action, which is kind of fun, I think, at least. All right, so that's a little easier because, again, we're not committing to anything. Next up, lead generation. How many of you have taken me up at this point to get our class notes? How many of you have downloaded a free thing I gave away? Success with Real Estate Mailers. Actually, I give this book away for free on our website. You could also go on Amazon because, everybody trusts Amazon and it gets to you in 2 days. I will probably need a little bit more, like 5 days, maybe 4, depending on where you're at. So again, when you have lead generation that is a little easier, you want to think about the easiest way to kind of get a lead right now. Free guides. I think the guides are getting to the point of being a little overused. Access to a free home value instantly. This is the one people think it's overused, but it's the number one question that comes back to us. And take our free quiz, because quizzes have been around. How many of you have done quizzes in the magazine, the teenage magazines, right? Always was a favorite. All right. So when you look at this, that is an easy way for them to just opt in without committing. They're not committing. They're just looking for a little bit of information. Okay. And the home evaluation one, again, easiest one that's out there. One of the questions, which one I use Cloud CMA. Cloud CMA is free with my MLS. So I'm a big fan of seeing what my MLS dues are already paying for. So maybe check with your MLS if Cloud CMA is available in your marketplace and if you are already paying for it with your dues. The other one I sometimes mention is a big part of that is HomeBot. And I'll tell you why I don't use HomeBot. I think the monthly reports are overkill. I think it's going along the lines of the boy that cried wolf. If you give somebody something too many times, unless you're an investor, I see that investor or maybe a number person, it could be beneficial. But if you give somebody something over and over and over and over and over again, it kind of loses effectiveness to a certain degree. So, same reason I would not go to the doctor and have an annual, like a monthly checkup. How many of you are going to go to the doctor for a monthly checkup? I don't. If I go once a year, that's good. Again, working on it, right? Health, the whole health attaining, whatever not. But if you think about it, would you go to a monthly checkup with your doctor? Unless something is really going on, first of all, okay, I'm gonna go extreme. If you're a cancer survivor, would you go to a monthly checkup to get screened? Probably, right? Because of history. An average person, however, likely not. So as you can start seeing frequency increasing, yes, that might be a good indicator, but it's not just home value that they're going to start engaging with. There's a whole lot of other things you can do to see higher engagement. And then we do, obviously, I said we use GeoCentral. Cloud CMA has an open API that can be used for other things, and HomeBot does not. So again, there's another reason why. And last but not least, Cloud CMA will not, or you can modify it so it doesn't give you like a value or something like that. So it leaves it more open to interpretation. Again, different things. And yes, if you just hopped on, there will be a replay. It's typically up for a couple days, and then we'll take it down on Thursday night, Friday morning, and then we'll prep for the next lunch and learn. All right, was this helpful? I hope so. Now, let's talk about the 10 real mailers that turned into listings. It's a peek behind the curtain. We're running up against time, so I'm going to go through pretty fast as well. Again, if you just hopped on and you missed the class notes, feel free to text the word seller 10 to 844-950-3580. And then this way you can get all of them right there and see what's going on with them. All right, I want to talk about the design. This one here is our Truth or Dare one. I absolutely love this one. It has a principle of like the 3 hats. You know, when you have like that street game where like where's the ball, and then they start like stacking and doing all the things. And yes, they're all leading to the same site. I know, you're like, what? Yes, really. I showed you that one already, okay? Very similar principle, just straight up in your face. This is like literally what you're gonna do. That's it. Worked really, really well. So recommend you sit down while scanning to avoid shock, scan with your phone, or go to insert your website. Timeline. People are always surprised when they get a timeline mailer because they're like, what do you mean? You don't just call and then it's on the market in a week? No. Most people are living in a way that I would not show a house online to. They need prep. They need to fix things. They need to clean up things. They need to hide things. They need to do things. So there is a prep period. You know that. I know that. So many sellers do not understand how that prep period is sometimes a year, and sometimes it's a month, and sometimes it's only 3 days. So is there a right or wrong way for timeline? No, there's not, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. There's only your perfect timeline. So giving them an example for what the neighbor's timeline looks like helps them to see, oh, the first reach out was done a year prior to them actually listing. Okay, maybe it's not too early to call the agent or text the agent or reach out to the agent. Monopoly mailer. Again, a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of, oh, I remember that. It's a Monopoly style, can't say Monopoly because, you know, trademark, but Monopoly style where people are kind of seeing what are the steps. Find a real estate agent, prepare your house, handle showings, receive offers, go under contract, have an inspection, negotiate. Hold on, there's more negotiation. Oh, there's an appraisal. Cool, now we're going to go to closing. So again, at the end of the day, it's a fun little way for them to kind of follow along. Hey neighbor, I have a big pet peeve against the hey neighbor one. Hey, I'm your neighbor. I also live here. I. Nobody cares. Number 1 marketing formula. WIIFM. What's in it for me? I don't care you're my neighbor. I don't care you're in real estate. What's in it for me? So we revised the entire Hi, I'm my neighbor because real estate agents have bugged me for years asking, but I want to introduce myself. It's the right thing to do. Fine. This one here is an introduction mailer. If you really, really, really wanted to introduce yourself, it's not about you. So example, here's what our, enter the year, whichever one, sellers need to know. Have you been wondering if the time is right to sell your house? Is today's real estate market still prime for sellers? Who is going to be the buyer of your home? These questions more I get almost every single day, and I got answers that you need to hear. And then you can just say, hi, neighbor. They kind of get the point that you are in the neighborhood, okay? People can draw conclusions. You don't have to make it all about you. This is not going to work. All right. Scan the QR code to see your home value. And then we do use, again, an image auto merge item in our print portal, and we put the seller's house on it. So when somebody gets something in the mail, it has their house on it. Believe me, it stops the scroll. They'll pay attention. Trusted by your neighbor, big social proof one. This one is probably one of my favorite ones because there's, again, once you start doing this for a decent amount of time and you have more proof, they hired me and they, like, it gets fun. So all this does is it targets a specific area. It shows your proof. You could also check with your broker if you have the permission, because remember, all listings belong to the broker. You could check with them to see if they're okay with you putting that on there, of like all these neighbors listed with our office, for example. As an idea, again, remember our disclaimer, check with your office. Your offer goes here. This is one of the postcards that I have gone over in our mailer bootcamp. And this is from mailer to listing in 5 days. I sent that offer, which was an instant cash offer, by the way, to a seller. I presented the cash offer and said, this offer is terrible. Again, I'm not in charge of making you just told me, bring me an offer from the investor. I did. And instead, here's plan B. What do you want to do? They hired me, we sold their house, and that is after it's been on the market with another agent for a couple months without success. So again, that one was fun. Neighborhood market stats, I do those once a quarter. Would highly suggest it because when people have what's going on in the neighborhood, that's huge. I don't blow up your phone like other agents will, but I do want to talk to you about your home. And then we have here what we call smart merge fields. Again, we use it inside GeoCentral. So it would say the homeowner's first name, the homeowner's last name, and it would have the homeowner's address on it. And again, it's a scroll stopping. Why is my info there? That's kind of cool. Let me look at it. And it goes against, for example, all the people that are blowing up an expired phone, right? If your listing expires, all of a sudden your phone's blowing up. Again, going against the grain with that. All right, what's next? For you that have seen them, go pick and choose. For those of you that want to know what we use, I'm going to go through some of the things that we use on the back end. But again, you have all the components. We have gone through all the things from mailing list, design. I showed you all of those. We've talked about the print. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Okay. Action is what makes this work. So I've done the manual route. I truly did. It was a lot. Was it worth it? 100%. But this year is like my 3-day project. Okay. 3 days, 3 adults, 8 hours a day, 1,000 note cards. So when all the postcards that you've seen, that's what I do now. But before that, I've done all the manual stuff. And it was a lot. So skipping through some of the things, again, you guys know how much we do in this business, right? But for me, the solution became when I created it. So postcards, there's a lot of different companies. GeoCentral is one of the ones for postcards. And yes, unlimited free printed postcards. What we have created for people is what we call a light version. So GeoCentral Lite essentially allowed me to now do postcards, okay, without all the craziness. So now I can get my signs in the yard because I'm sending postcards at scale. And I don't miss out on the little munchkins when they come home. And the leads on it, obviously, that's a big component. When I said earlier, targeted mail, smartest landing page on the planet, That is part of what we do. It's a feature called Smart QR codes, and that allows us to make this QR code just a little bit smarter than your initial one. So GeoCentral has a light version. The light plan is a postcard only version for real estate agents. And I will say you need to use it. So I had somebody ask me the other day, what's the catch on the unlimited free printed postcards, right? Because they're like, there has to be a catch. And I'm like, well, now that you ask, let me tell you. And I compared it to the Costco model. I said, where does Costco make their money? The answer is on memberships. Costco does not make money on their products. It makes most of their money on memberships. How many of you have a Costco membership? How many of you have not used it in the last 12 months? Okay, so when you look at the membership model, that is what this is. Okay, so GeoCentral Lite is a membership-based model. If you do not use it, you have just successfully sent 0 postcards for, drumroll, $47 a month. This is for you, not great. For me, also not great. Because for us is we want to look for people that actually do want to link arms and send mail. Again, when I told you earlier, I'm a really, really, really big direct mail nerd. I want to talk to more people that are as nerdy as I am. For me, this is a natural filter to get dabblers out and actually mastery agents in. This filter has worked so well that we have an incredible community of action-based agents who are using it. So you wonder what the catch, that's your catch. It's a membership Costco style model, and it serves as a natural filter because if you don't use it, this is going to be the worst $47 you're going to spend throughout the month. However, if you actually are sending postcards, which everybody should be sending postcards to your SOI, did we not talk about warm? Every single one of you guys should be sending a monthly mailer to your SOI. Why? Because your SOI doesn't need more phone calls. They have caller ID, they're busy, right? They don't want to feel guilty for missing your call, not returning it, because you want to do your FORD, your Fort method check-ins, because somebody at the office told you to. Okay, you have to evolve. You really do. So if you look at what you're going to do with it alone is SOI, right? That's a win. Now we're adding a farming component in, and you should be easily north of 120 mailers a month. So that is how that catch is working out. Does that make sense? Like everybody's always asking, what's the catch? There it is. Natural filter selection. You have to show up and actually do something with it. Again, we also have 6 proven templates in there. You have seen 5 of these on today. The one we didn't talk about is actually one of my favorites. Yeah, I have a bad print here. This one printed bad. I gotta order a new one. This one here is what I call our open house one. Let me tell you how it works. How many of you are working with buyers? I work with buyers. How many of my buyers are showing up at open houses? Right? I mean, every now and then when you don't hear from them, but then they start looking again at open houses. Yes. So here's what happens. I tell my buyers, take a picture of this postcard I sent you. And when you get to the open house, instead of signing in with the agent, just show them this picture, right? That's why text the picture to your cell phone or keep it in your purse or a car, wherever, and just show them the picture. They scan this picture, the agent does, and they're going to get to, let me show you. They're going to get to my, hey, thanks so much for taking care of my buyers. They're under an exclusive buyer agency agreement with me. And please send me an email on the property so I can look it up and talk to them. So let me see if I can share. It's like on my phone right now. So when the agent at the open house scans it, then that is the page we created that the agent would see. So you can see here, it simply then says, oops, follow up with Janine by text, follow up with Janine by email, and looking to grow your business? Hit here, okay? So again, looking to connect, it has all my info there for the agent. So when he scans, he's gonna get all of that. The cool thing that happens during the scan, I wanna try not to show it to you because all my info is on there. Let me see, okay, everybody can see this? This one here is a text message that just came through that said, so-and-so just scanned the open house pass. Now, so-and-so is my buyer's name. Okay, my buyer's name. Now, what do I get to gain by that? I know exactly when my buyers are out at open houses. Now I can go and follow up with them and be like, hey, right? I'm like, how did the open house go this weekend? I am there every step of the way in my buyer's process. Everybody understand that so far? Yes. So again, all I got to do is send them a little 4x6 card. We call it a pass, an open house pass, because they are on an exclusive buyer agency agreement. And that's that. Okay, so we got that one on there. Is it work to set this one up a little bit? Yes, you need to have a landing page for where they're going to go. And again, we created ours. It's, it's work. So that's why natural filter for people that obsess over direct mail as much as I do. All right. So smart QR code technology, that's what you saw right here. That text message that came through said, hey, your buyer scanned the open house pass, right? That's the QR code technology. Digital impressions, we do send first class, which puts us in the informed delivery bucket for the United States Postal Service. What that means is that we also get email impressions with our direct mail. So not only is our direct mail piece seen in the mailbox and at the home, we also go into the email if they are opted in for informed delivery. So that one is fun. And let's see, that's the light plan. Again, the light plan is you dip your toe and do something with it. And it was created for just agents to really hopefully find something they like and use. That was us. But other than that, there's a lot of other things out there. And I said that. I said, GeoCentral is $47 a month. You get unlimited free printed postcards. I walked through all of how that works, the Costco model analogy. I walked through the catch, which is really just a natural filtering process for us. So if you've been at the postcards are expensive, or I can't track my results, I don't know if my postcards get delivered, if you find it hard to get leads on your own, or if you're just overwhelmed trying to do all the things, again, all of these are generally categories that we talk to our people about that, make them look into GeoCentral. So again, you cover postage. So I do want to point that out. Okay, I am not your bank. So you cover your own postage. Postage rates go by first class stamp. So whatever that little forever stamp is, that is sending our 8.5 by 5.5. And then there is something called a postcard stamp, which is for our 4x6. Okay, so yes, postage is on you. And we are giving you the 6 templates on the light because I don't want you to be stranded. I do have an entire catalog. I already cleaned it up. I had it out here earlier, but I have an entire catalog that I have for my templates. Those are on our pro membership. So, but you do get base templates. Okay, just not my personal ones. All right, so best time to get started, 30 years ago. Do you know why? Postage 30 years ago was 50% of what it is today. I wish I would have mailed 30 years ago. And you've heard the saying too, best time to get something out is now, because I do think that you have postage going up over $1 at a certain point in time. And we call it a natural barrier of entry. It happened with Facebook ads. For those of you that remember, early Facebook ad cost was quite low. Now it's more. And now it's, you see it everywhere. Cost is going up, and with that, barrier of entry rises. So, all right. Are there larger ones than 4x6? 4x6, 8.5 by 5.5. That's like half a piece of paper. There's a third size. Doesn't print free. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. I think it's like 58 cents to print it, plus a postage, which is why we do not talk about that one. And GeoCentral Pro there's different pricing on Pro. So Pro is anywhere from $250 a month, $200 a quarter, or $166 annual. So same plans, but that's Pro, in case I know somebody was asking about Pro. And geocentral.com has everything listed. Like, it's not a opt-in to find out pricing. I think those are crazy. I don't have time to answer somebody's pricing questions. They're on there for that reason, right? So I'm like, I hate when I go to websites. I think one of the big CRMs just did it. I had to inquire about pricing, and I'm like, just put it out there. Like, how difficult is it? Just put it out there. I don't want a sales call. So, all right. So that's Geo Central. If you need something, if you don't need something, that's fine. Okay. For those of you that have a way to mail, take one of the 10 and take the action to get it out there. All right. Thanks for joining today. We ran definitely over, and I hope it was helpful. I hope you saw something that made sense. And I will catch you guys all at the next Lunch and Learn.